Welcome to another episode of Contentstack Live with our host, Jeff Baha. We're excited to have Eric Broadwater, our Senior Product Manager of Growth, joining us today to talk about how to fast-track composable digital experience development. Let's dive in.
Eric, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
So title, how to fast-track composable digital experience development. Let's kind of get into like the mentality of the developers, talking about composable DXPs. What's kind of going on in the developer's head here as they kind of make this pivot from like a legacy suite to this kind of wide open composable world?
Right. I mean, it's an exciting time. I think that's first and foremost as a developer, there's so many tools and technology pieces out there and languages. So it's really exciting, but at the same time, it's really I think an overwhelming amount of information. So as we start to look at, okay, what does the journey look like for a developer in understanding Contentstack? I think we really kind of started from the approach of, all right, there's a few things that I think every developer needs to know about the headless space. And then there's a lot of things depending on what your use case is, what your stack is, what your enterprise goals are, all of that. So how do we encompass kind of those types of learnings into the system, but also make sure that people understand that Contentstack at its core is extensible. I mean, it's a DXP, which is great. It means that there's nothing that a developer or a stakeholder can say, hey, can you do this? That Contentstack generally can't do, but that takes time and that takes understanding. So what we wanted to do was close the gap and close the delta and teach people a little bit more about how API-driven development works, how Contentstack itself works, and how we make what we're calling composable work.
I'm curious, just how radical in your experience has this been for the customers that you're working with, from where they've come from to this wide open? Are they deadlights?
Yeah. Some are. I think it really runs the gambit of, and it depends a lot on. We have a lot of clients that are migrating over from a monolith, and migrating over from something that's very closed, and really the antithesis of what we have at Contentstack. So depending on what the environment is that a user is coming over from, it could be anything from, all right, well, this is just maybe a 201 and we were at 101 to, wow, we were driving a Yugo and this is a Porsche. So it really covers the spectrum of how polarizing and different it can be. But that's, I think, part of the challenge and the excitement, because once you get into this composable architecture, once you start to understand that getting systems to talk together is really a lot easier than you would think, the world becomes your oyster from a developer standpoint.
What's been your experience in terms of how developers get the skills and the knowledge? And I would imagine too, there's some that are long-time Adobe shops or Sitecore shops, and that could be many years that they've been investing in those skills. And maybe perhaps a newer breed of developers that are coming in, maybe not with some of that kind of legacy experience,
right.
But where do people go? I mean, we can obviously get to some things that we do within Contentstack, but beyond that, I feel like where do you see people going? Where is the knowledge kind of sharing and exchange occurring?
Yeah. And that's really the great thing about what's been happening just in the technology space in the last 5 years. You've got so many different ways, blogs, Medium, LinkedIn, all of those different areas for, Reddit, for engineers and developers to share ideas. I think the big shift is it's a mindset shift. And for people that are coming from a monolith, it's this shift from everything that I do has to be in this closed proprietary system. And then I use APIs to send information, whatever. Whereas you're moving to more of this headless DXP where it's composable, which means you can take little pieces out. You can change them out as you need to. As you get new use cases or you get a new vendor that you want to incorporate into your stack, it's a lot easier. So the developer can change their mindset from, all right, how do I work around these roadblocks I keep hitting with my monolith to, okay, the sky is the limit. I want to send this information over to X. How do I send it over there? How often? How do I get back from them information that I can act on within my DA? It's just this overall change of mindset that sometimes I think really it depends a lot too. If you've got an engineer that's been working into the closed proprietary system for 10 years, it's a little bit of a learning curve to uphill to change your mindset. It's just like just like riding a bike though. Once you learn and once you understand, you can go anywhere you want to.
Like the analogy. So what, maybe more specifically within Contentstack, what are we offering in terms of skills, knowledge, certifications?
Well, and I think that was something. So we as a group we really just kind of took a pause and said, okay, we've done some of the traditional onboarding that you'll see when you get a new user into a SaaS product, which is, here's how you do this, here's how you do this. But what we also have is this incredibly robust documentation site where you can really answer any question you want to, but it's self-service. And then we had some learnings, but they were all kind of disjointed, disconnected. So what we wanted to do was bring that entire environment into kind of an ecosystem. And that's what we're really calling our education ecosystem. So as an engineer, as a developer, you're going to want to figure out some of your low barriers. How do I add a piece of content? How do I add users? How do I add that? Those are available within the application, but you also can then go to the next level of, all right, how would I connect this system? How would I use the Contentstack marketplace? And how, I don't understand exactly how content modeling works in your system. So we have developer academy courses, which are designed for little pieces of the DXP. So whether it's, hey, how do you do a gallery, to, what does our image API look like? So it runs kind of the spectrum of that, but those are really targeted in-depth lessons with some code snippets, with some examples that you can follow along with. We also are looking at unveiling what we're calling the Help Center. So that will be a centralized source of truth within the application for all of our documentation, everything that you need to know about Contentstack. And then I think we tie that all together with what we call our developer fast track. And so that is just a really quick way to get you as an engineer into Contentstack, give you a couple weeks to play around with it. You get all the bells and whistles. You get access to Automation Hub. You get access to Launch. You get access to the marketplace. And you can really play around with it in more than just the, okay, well, I can see how I add an article. That's great. We look at our developer fast track as we're going to give you everything we have under the sun, and you can play around with it. And we're very, very confident that after that time, you're going to say, all right, this is the DXP. This is where I need to move. Our digital transformation starts here.
Yeah. So let's break this down. There's a lot of things there. So on the Help Center, right? So, and maybe this is the time if you want to kind of show us. So what's the practitioner experience? So where does this all kind of meet up?
Sure.
And then, it sounds like there's elements of standard documentation perhaps. And then there's the academy. So a lot of stuff there so take us through that.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So when you log into Contentstack and you get into your, what we call a stack, which is really just a collection of information, this is the screen that you'll see. And so over here on the right-hand side, you've got what we're calling our Help Center. And our Help Center will serve several purposes to the user. The first and foremost is you want to ask a question, hey, how do workflows work? You can just search, and what this is going to do is it's going to bring in all of our documentation. So this is all docs that you would be able to read right now on our doc site, but it opens up within the application itself. So you can follow along with the documentation, and you can go right into the application and set one of these up for yourself. If you wanted to take a little bit more of a journey of, okay, I'm new to workflows, show me what I need to know. I don't even know what questions I need to ask. We do have a language learning model that we've set up for it. So this is, again, it's been educated specifically on our documentation. So what's going to happen is it's going to show us all kinds of information about how I do a workflow, what would be the logical questions I would ask after a workflow. And we are in a development environment. And then if you said, you know what, I know where I want to go, or I'm looking specifically at, say, the content modeling section. The content that's within the Help Center is going to change and be specific to the area. So it is very aware of where you're at in the application, and it serves up what it thinks is going to be the best documentation for you. So you can just click right in here and you can see kind of some information about, all right, well, I wanted to copy over a content type. And then lastly, any of the information that you do need, quick access to what's coming out new, our change log. Maybe you want to spend some more time in the documentation, or in most cases, or in some cases, you're going to want to talk to the support team. We've got those links all available right within the Help Center. So this is probably your first source of truth. And when you go into the application initially on that developer fast track, it's new to you. So this is designed to be a little bit of a self-guided journey. The one thing that we we really figured out after looking at data over the last few months, which is all engineers learn differently. Some people like to have a paint by numbers guide. Some people just want to dive into documentation. Some are video. Some people want a little bit more of a course level, almost like a college education course. We've got all of those available. It's just up to the engineer to decide which learning is best for them.
And that's what you just showed us there is available for people just on the trial path or general customers as well?
No, everybody. So we obviously are spending a lot of time in this conversation talking about, the developers in terms of getting them in new, but we want the education process to continue for developers their entire time with Contentstack. We're constantly rolling out new features, things like branches. I know we're going to be rolling out some really exciting taxonomy things in the next few months. All of those will have education portions as well. So even if you're a 3-year, 4-year, 5-year, however long you've been with Contentstack, when we roll out something new, we want to make sure that you've got access to understand how that works and how it can make, how it can save you time and improve your efficiencies.
Yeah, very cool. So now the fast track, developer fast track, you mentioned that a couple of times. So what's that? And maybe also you just want to flush up like how someone would actually kind of engage and sign up for that. But yeah, what are we trying to achieve with that? And how does it really help? I know there's a lot of other packages out there that offer freemiums and this and that to kind of get people kind of going, but like what's different here? What are we trying to kind of do, kind of set up?
Sure. And that was one of the big things that we said, Contentstack, we don't mind being a little bit different. And so in this case, we don't offer a freemium model. We don't have a low cost where you've got, everything, but you only get a third of your limitations. We took a different tack, and that's called the developer fast track. And so if you go to the website and you just click on if you just head on into the platform and you just take a look at the modern developer, you can head up here to the fast track, which basically gives you as an engineer 21 days to try out everything that Contentstack has to offer. So we'll dump you right in. It takes about 5 minutes. You just give us a little bit of information. We've got you set up with an organization. It's got all the enablements you need to basically use anything you want in Contentstack. So we want you to try some automations in Automation Hub. We want you to try and set up an environment and launch. We want you to set up some APIs to your front end, whatever your front end is of choice. We want you to be able to do all of that so that by the time you're done with that fast track experience, you or your engineering team are up to speed on the base level of Contentstack, so that by the time we get you over to our unbelievable care without compromise support, they're going to be able to help you with anything you need to do. But also you're going to be able to get your other team in there. If you want to get your content managers in to have them take a look at it, you can do that. We do not limit the number of people that you can get in there. We don't limit the number of API calls. Yeah, obviously outside of the norm. So everything is available for you. But what we don't say is at the end of 21 days to, hey, pop in a credit card, you can have a low cost thing. That's not, we build enterprise environments on enterprise DXP. So our goal is to get you to the end of the fast track and have you all the base level knowledge you need to be able to build whatever it is your digital property is with Contentstack.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point because we see that there's the dipping your toe into aspects of like headless or the composable, the architecture, but there's the really kind of perhaps more going into the deep end aspect of really knowing what you'll be at kind of full speed or at scale and being able to sample what that's going to be like and what features are really going to matter. And a lot of times in those kind of smaller environments, you don't hit those points where those things really start to matter. How do the two between like the academy and the fast track, how do they maybe perhaps come together for the kind of untrained or unguided in the world?
Sure, absolutely. It's a great question. We, at our recent ContentCon, we rolled out what we're calling our Contentstack Academy. And so that is done by our TSO team, which is probably the best, if not probably, they're absolutely the best TSO in the entire
technical services. Yeah.
Yep. So these are the guys that will come in. Let's say that you come in and you've got a really challenging problem. You want to integrate with 4 different vendors. You're not really sure. It'll affect your content model. Some of that can be challenging. So we've got resources that are available that will help you. These are experts. that completely top to bottom, left to right, understand Contentstack. So what they've gone through and said, based on our experience with a lot of our customers, let's put together some learning. And so that's what we call the Contentstack Academy. And I'll kind of give you a little bit of a taster right now. It's free for anybody that is a Contentstack, either you're trying it out, or if you're a Contentstack customer, it's free to use. And so what you're looking at here is the initial onboarding course. And right now we've got, I believe there's 19 different modules in here. So it's everything, as you can see, to how does our delivery API work? Or, what's the best way to designing a pattern with content types? So they really took some time to say, okay, what are the challenges that we consistently see across the board as people try to move from that, all right, I've got a base level of Contentstack, to I want to be an expert. That's really what these are going to help you do. So it's everything from those base levels of how would I do a workflow? How do webhooks work in Contentstack specifically? So everything that's in here is specifically tailored to Contentstack. So if we, take a look and say this one, you'll see all of this is specifically tailored around Contentstack. So everything from examples, code snippets, all of the tone of voice, and all of the content is designed for you as an engineer to read this and then pop right in to be able to understand and create your own content models as part of that developer fast track. So hopefully by the time you're done with it, you can, whether you're an individual or a part of a team contributor, you can go and say, I've got this. I understand how Contentstack works. I understand how we can reach some of the requirements that we have for our property transformation.
That's really cool. So yeah, it takes you kind of from beginning all the way through kind of to expert level, but it then links you to do this exercise, like actually in the stack itself. So you actually get kind of that much elusive kind of hands-on experience.
Yeah. And that's part of what we wanted to do, is we wanted to complete. So, you heard me talk about this idea of an ecosystem. The idea there is that the documentation and our academy and everything we have within the help center, it all works in conjunction. So if you're going to see examples that are here, say in the, creating a hero page, that will be tailored to, we seed your organization with what we call a starter stack. So this is a stack that's got some samples of content models, got some samples of a front end, things like that. So it's designed for you to be able to go in and say, oh, all right, well, I can see where they're going with this. I see how content modeling works. I see how I can use modular blocks. I see how I can use all of the different features that we have. And then this will talk to you about, all right, you're using that already. Here's best practices, or here's maybe an idea you didn't think about that we've done before.
So where's this all go? I mean, this is super exciting. I think just the fast track itself, I think, is important for just kind of getting down that kind of hands-on experience, but there's a lot of richness in the academy, what you showed kind of just in the online help center. Where do you kind of see this going? What's got you all excited?
Oh, I mean, I think that as we as Contentstack, as we sit at the forefront of, composable, I think what's really exciting is, just like every other technology, you've got your early adopters. So we've got plenty of clients that we have worked with for several years that are really pushing the envelope. But now we're looking at that next wave. We're looking at the non-early adopters. The people are like, okay, I'm hearing a lot about this composable. I'm hearing about a DXP. Let me see what that is. This is your opportunity to kick the tires, but not in a, hey, I can only drive 20 miles an hour. We want you to go as fast as you can, and we want you to see everything that you've got. And really, I think what we hear from a lot of the engineers that get into this track is, like I said, it's a mindset change. And once that switch goes off, they really do start thinking about things differently, because you just think about, how can I share that information out? How can Contentstack be at the center of the spine that is your entire digital portfolio? And it's exciting. I think, we've even got some clients that try this out because they're like, you know what, we've got this really robust infrastructure that we have, our CI/CD, we've got, 200, 300 people that are in the system on a regular basis, but they want to play with something new. They want to play with something that's completely disconnected from that. They can do that too. Set up a different stack, we work with our team or use this developer fast track to try new things. That's what we want to be, is the vehicle for all of these incredibly talented engineers and developers to really invent what's going to be the next 5 to 10 years of digital development.
I like it. This is very cool. Well, we're going to for sure want to have you back to check in, see how things are going, and just kind of check the pulse of the developer community. It's there's a lot there. There's a lot for people to sink their teeth into, and I love this idea of just letting people to go as fast as they want and as they can. So I know we have a couple of questions that usually kind of come in, and probably now is a good time to see what we got.
Yeah, let's answer away.
Yeah, first one. This one is for developers who start a trial. Can they extend beyond 21 days?
Absolutely. Yep, absolutely. And that's a great question. So, we do have our developer fast track set right now at 21 days. And that's based off of, a lot of data, industry standards, et cetera. But ultimately, our goal is to get you as a developer to be able to be comfortable with Contentstack and then to partner with us to leverage. So if you get into 20 days, you're like, wow, I'm so close. I'm there. I want some help. Absolutely. We've got a feedback form that comes in the trial itself, or you can just contact us via support and we'd be happy to extend it with you. I'm sure our team would be also happy to set up, maybe talk about some of the challenges you're looking to overcome and how we can help. That's really the goal of this, is to get people into the system and understand how can we help.
Yeah. Austin, you got another one for us?
Yeah, this next one is, you mentioned the developer fast track program includes an instance of Contentstack launch. Is the fast track program for website projects only?
No. Now, while we do have launch, it can be used for anything. I mean, we've seen and talked to and heard of people who are going to use a DXP for everything from, traditional web properties to mobile applications to IoT applications. I think really it's, ultimately at the end of the day, one of our core products is a CMS. And so content is always going to be king. But where do you want to deliver that content and how do you want to? I think that's where the imagination starts to come in. And that's where really the power of Composable is if you've got content and you want to deliver it anywhere, whether it's, a website, whether it's a mobile app, whether it's someone's, refrigerator, it really doesn't matter. You can use Contentstack, and that's what the fast track is for, is to let your imagination go wild and see where you could actually use it.
I like it. Yeah. And probably just a good point, just so you have access to Automation Hub. You do have access to Contentstack launch for the front end hosting you do want to do. But like you said, inherent in this is this headless CMS. So really, any experiences you really want to attach it to your front end or as the front end, it's up to you, and you can. And yeah,
right. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and that's part of our composable nature, just at its core, is we do have products like Automation Hub, which will let you do amazing automations and really will transform the efficiency of your business. If that's not your cup of tea, then by all means, it's not a requirement to use it. Same thing with Launch. We think that Launch is our newest product. It's an amazing step forward in terms of our hosting environment and really completing that spine, if you will. But if you don't have a web property, then no need to use it. It's fine. Yeah. Same with the Marketplace. I mean, the Marketplace feature is one of those that we highly encourage people to use because it does allow you to leverage things we built, things that you potentially build, and things that we will be building. But again, if you just want to kind of kick the tires on some specific use cases and feature sets, you can do that without having to use any of the other features or products.
Very cool. Very cool. Eric, thank you so much for joining us today. This is everything we're doing on the developer and the community is super exciting. The fast track, developer fast track, people can sign up today.
Oh yeah, right now. Absolutely. After this call, I mean, 5 minutes before this call, if you're already signed up, then you're good to go. But yeah, it's ready to go, rocking and rolling. And we look forward to people coming in. And, if they have any questions or if you run into any problems, there's a feedback loop within the actual application itself. But also feel free to reach out to us on any of our socials, on our community page. We really do want to hear from some of the engineers and developers to get into this, or even some of the content managers. You don't just have to be a developer to go in here. It is tailored for a developer, but that doesn't mean that someone who is a non-developer, or maybe it does just enough to get themselves in trouble, by all means, give it a shot. I mean, you're not really going to break anything, so give it a whirl.
That's cool. Yeah, and I just we have these show notes, so we'll make sure to include links again for those who weren't able to follow as quickly to the sign up page for the fast track, your contact info, everything else to kind of let us and have people kind of reach out and stay connected. But again, Eric, thank you so much for joining us today. And all of you, see you soon. Thank you.
Thanks.
Be sure to check out the show notes for relevant links and content. To learn even more about the power of going composable, head to contentstack.com.